Hello, Xavier, from Appear Networks. You are now a Red Herring 100 winner. How does that feel?
Thank you, Thomas. It feels great. We just came back from the conference, and it's obviously an honor for a company in Sweden to receive that award. I think the reason for being selected this year is we've shown a lot of potential for our technology in the mobile space, and we started, if you remember, in 2001, 2002, to develop solutions for the mobile enterprise market. We've had some very strong success stories like the Dutch Rail, the Paris subway. But now, in 2008, we have now broken through a new market which is related to airlines and airports. So potentially the Appear technology could be deployed in hundreds of airports together with our partners. In particular, there is a company called SITA who is developing solutions, technology solutions and communication solutions for airports. And they are now in the process of rolling out wireless services both for the employees in the airports, so all the maintenance workers, ground handlers, security guards, but also in the future for the consumers. And last year we saw a very large intake of mobile internet services after the launch of the iPhone. And in fact, a lot of our customers have started to ask if they could use our solutions to provide services, mobile services, not only to workers but also to consumers. And I really believe that's linked to launches like the iPhone or Google Android.
Okay.
So fortunately, we are in a very strong position to capture that market, and that's probably one of the reasons for being at Red Herring this year.
That sounds fascinating. Sounds like you're well positioned to take a good position here in the future. If we ask to get a basis for what you do, what is the core of Appear Networks, and what do you do, and how do you fit into the mobile and wireless puzzle?
The dreadful elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I would define what we do as software, obviously, but in fact we make complex things simple, and that is actually quite difficult. If you look at the average mobile user, whether he's a maintenance worker or just a passenger in an airport, he has the capability on his little mobile device to access a very large number of information because he has a very powerful device, and also because he has access to very high bandwidth networks such as Wi-Fi or 3G. So it's very difficult for him to filter that information. And what we do best is to make sure that the information you receive on your device, on your phone, on your PDA, on your tablet PC, is exactly the information you need at the right time, at the right place. And that is quite difficult. You need to know things like your precise location within a building, which of course cannot be done with GPS because you don't have the satellites, cannot be done with cell ID because that wouldn't be precise enough. So we use very advanced technology from Cisco to be able to pinpoint your location within an airport terminal. And depending on that, we'll return informations to you which are relevant to what you're doing. So if you are a maintenance worker about to repair a piece of equipment, we'll make sure that we push the cabling diagrams of that equipment to you in real time when you're approaching that equipment. So you don't even have to look for them. They are naturally displayed on your device when you move into that new situation. Now, that capability, the ability of predicting what services need to be presented to a user based on his situation, that's what we call context-aware services. It's a very complex area which was started 20 years ago in major universities like MIT and Carnegie Mellon, and now is really hitting the market and actually deployed on mobile devices. You may have seen some announcement from Nokia, for example, around context-aware services. So this is really happening. In fact, we have built our own research capability here in Sweden, funded by the European Commission. So we've deployed a large number of researchers on that, and we are about to kickstart our North American research labs in cooperation with a university called Ryerson Lab. It's an university in Toronto, and they specialize in what is called ubiquitous pervasive computing, which is essentially context-aware services. So in fact, right now we are building the research capability to provide the infrastructure for those next generation networks which will support context-aware services. And we believe that context-aware services will be critical to provide a good user experience both to the public users but also to the employees.
This sounds fascinating. It sounds like you're right on the edge of what's possible with the mobile and wireless networks. From being an outside perspective to see what's this seems like this is not the traditional operator who buys this type of solutions. Do you see new operators emerging, and who do you see control of the spectrum and providing these great services? I mean, you're talking about wireless employees with gathering the right information at the right time at the right location.
Yeah.
And do you see new operators emerging, or who's taking control of this wireless spectrum?
Absolutely.
Do you have any comments on that, Xavier?
Absolutely. That's a key question, Thomas, actually. And to actually explain a bit more, this was one of the reasons why we built that business plan, because we analyzed the market and realized that this new type of services which are provided to workers within a specific campus may not be provided by traditional telcos. And in fact, that would probably open up an opportunity for new operators to provide those services. But for us, as a supplier to those operators, that would be a good thing, because then instead of having 10 or 20 different telco operators to sell to, we would end up having 100 or 200 or 1,000 different new operators to sell to, which is good from a competition point of view and also from a supplier-vendor relationship point of view. So in fact, what we see in the market is that the first companies to deploy local wireless networks are not always the telcos. Of course, in Sweden we are used to Telia Home Run, for example, but that's really an exception. In a lot of the markets, these Wi-Fi networks have been deployed by the location owners. For example, the airport authority in Munich, or the Schiphol Airport Authority, or the Paris Subway Authority. And we can provide them with an infrastructure to deploy value-added services on top of that wireless LAN network. So I really believe that this will continue. There will be telcos offering the services, but there will be also a very large number of smaller operators which are linked to a particular location. Because in the end, if you're an airport or a train operator, why would you hand over your customers to someone else to sell them wireless services? You own the data, you own the information. If you're a passenger in an airport, what's of most interest to you? Probably the flight you're supposed to take, the gate you're leaving from, and the information about the flight. That information is owned by the airport and the airline. Why would they give it away to, say, an operator to give it to their consumers? They could actually provide the information themselves from the wireless local network, and that's really what we're trying to enable. We're providing them with a platform that enables them to provide mobile services to their own users. They will do it themselves, or sometimes they will work with a vertical vendor like CETA or ARINC in the airport industry that can help them aggregate wireless services on the airport. But this is really create more competition for the operators. It's not a surprise if iPhone, for example, has launched a new service. When you go into a Starbucks, for example, there's a new icon, Starbucks, that appear. That Starbucks icon comes from the Wi-Fi network that Starbucks own. It has nothing to do with the operator. I think we will see this model more and more and more.